Hello, David.
Hello, Alex. How's it going?
Good. We are now doing episode number 5 of A Flood of Content. This is our first online episode. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. I think it will. All right. So, what's on our agenda for today? What do we got?
A bit of the Rona for me, and
The Rona. You got the Rona and I got the Heine. Kompai, by the way. Virtual Kompai.
which is studio looking nice. Though.
Especially like, thank you. You too. That guy, yeah. That was my gift
It
to
is.
you.
I have not drunk it yet.
How is it, by the way?
I'm saving it for probably Golden Week. It has a gold cap, so I thought it would go well.
In the past couple of years, the whole idea of like virtual nomikais have become like pretty popular. For our audience, a nomikai is like a drinking party in Japan where people like meet up and drink. Because of like Corona and like people staying home and all that stuff, people have been meeting up over Zoom or FaceTime, like instead of going to like restaurants or bars. I don't think I ever did one, but like my student was talking about doing them. Did you ever do any virtual nomikais?
No, I think if I did a virtual Nomikai, my computer would probably be broken by now. You know, I'm gonna just pour like a can of beer over it or something.
Right.
In-person ones, at least, tended to get pretty wild. Ties wrapped around your head. And,
Yeah.
so they go.
It's kind of funny how like the whole like drunk dude trope is like a necktie around your head, or like in the States it's like a lampshade on your head. Like it always involves something on your head. And when I was younger, like in university, like people my age, when they got really drunk, they would put like the 24 pack of beer, like they would empty it out so it's just like the like cardboard 24 pack, and they would put it on their head like a crown. I don't know, it was a thing. Yeah, I never did the virtual nomikai thing, but I don't know, I think one-on-one like this is pretty manageable.
Yeah, if there's like a whole bunch of people,
But-
it's just going to descend into chaos. So
I can't even imagine like a party with like 5 or 6 or 7 or more people all in a Zoom call. That sounds like a literal nightmare to me.
it's kind of weird how like the online parties have taken off so much so that even like Amazon Prime has like a watch party like button. Like when you choose a movie, it says like make a watch party or something. So I assume that's like organize a party or something.
Yeah. I noticed also like Disney Plus has that too.
Does it really?
I think it's with the like application version or with the web browser version. If you start to watch something, you can like invite someone else to watch it with you. So it seems like everything is going that
To
direction.
leave your house.
You don't even have to go out to buy groceries. You can just get everything on Amazon.
I think those bar people need you to show up sometime.
Yes. I miss those bar people.
Bar people.
I don't know if the next thing is, but I feel kind of obsolete these days. It's kind of crazy to think, though, that like now there's an entire generation of people on this earth that don't know what life is like without
Technology.
smartphones. iPhone has been a thing since 2007. It's now 2022. So you got like teenagers that have no idea what pre-iPhone life was even like.
You have like young kids now, like very young kids, and if you apparently take their tablet away from them, they just scream and like, bang their hands on the floor. That's a thing.
Oh my gosh. In my previous job, I was teaching a private lesson to a child, probably like 9 or 10 years old. And he always came to the school he didn't come to the school with an iPad. He would come to the school and then take the school's iPad used for like teaching lessons. He would take the iPad and immediately go to YouTube and start watching like Minecraft videos. Like people like playing video games on YouTube. He would refuse to listen to anything like the teachers would tell him, or like anything I would tell him. if you try to take it away from him, he'll just start crying. It's like pretty much like a ruined human being. Like, where do you go from there? I'm kind of glad I didn't have that kind of stuff when I was very young.
Good to know what life is like without it, to be honest. Even though it's hard to remember that time these days.
I kind of transitioned into like a full-time online person like around high school. Before that, though, I was pretty much like a typical kid. You just go outside and play. Yeah, climbing trees, getting into trouble.
Well, I guess we should get into the latest content that has come down the pipe. Last week we discussed the John Carpenter Retrospective that I went to.
Yeah. You got some cool swag from there.
Some cool swag. Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. We look at the John Carpenter merch. We also talked about the Alien franchise. And yeah, to kind of not put Mr. Carpenter to bed per se, but I thought I'd check out the only 2 movies by him I hadn't seen before. So I've now seen every Carpenter movie.
Congratulations.
Do I get like a special university certificate for that or something? Did I graduate the Carpenter?
I think it means Mr. Carpenter himself will send you a handwritten letter in the mail.
He shows up to my apartment just to shake my hands. I mean, he kind of is a zombie. He has looked like 80 years old since the 1980s, so I think he'll live forever anyway.
They say some people don't age and other people age very quickly and just stay that age.
Have you seen many of his movies? Can you guess which 2 I haven't seen, if you know his catalogue?
I don't know too many of his movies. I know, like, The Thing. Oh, yeah, Halloween. Oh, yeah, the Snake Plissken movie. That is
Escape from New York?
Escape from New York. Yeah. Escape from LA. Is that
That's also by
John
him?
Carpenter
Yeah, he did
as well?
make that. Okay. Could be his worst movie, I think. Yeah. Tied with Ghosts of Mars, maybe. Well, some of his other movies he made, They Live.
Scanners?
Scanners is Cronenberg.
Is that Cronenberg?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, other films he made included Assault on Precinct 13. That's one of his famous ones. Yeah.
Okay, I've seen like the remake of that. It came out like in the 2000s.
There is a remake of that. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the original or only the remake?
No. At the time, I had no idea it was even a remake. I thought it was like an original movie.
Yeah, the original one, that's one of his earliest movies. Yeah. So yeah, just going through, he made Dark Star, which I don't really totally include in his filmography. That's like a SF movie from the 70s. I think that was like his student movie, like his university graduation movie or something.
Okay.
So, yeah, he made Assault on Precinct 13. After that, Halloween. Really then, The Fog was his next studio movie. We talked about The Fog last time. I watched that at the theatre last week. Escape from New York. The Thing. Christine. The Demon Car movie.
Was that John Carpenter? And it's based on a Stephen King...
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Like short story? Yeah. Or a novel?
I think it's a novel. I'm not totally sure. I think that's an actual novel. After that, he made Starman. So that's one of the 2 I hadn't seen. I watched this week.
Starman.
I'll get into that in a bit, I guess.
Okay.
Big Trouble in Little China. Do you know that movie?
Yes, I know.
Yeah. After that, he made Prince of Darkness. That's like a devil worshipper, Satan kind of movie. probably one of his lesser known ones, but that's one I had seen before. They Live, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, the Chevy Chase Invisible Man movie. That one came out in the 90s, early 90s.
The Memoir of an Invisible Man.
Starring Chevy Chase as the Invisible Man.
Usually I think of Chevy Chase in like comedy roles, but I don't imagine this is a comedy movie.
It's kind of a comedy, actually. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's more of a romance comedy version of it. It's not a horror version of it. Of course, the original Invisible Man story is kind of horror, I would say. But
yeah,
that one is like a funnier, lighter version. After that, he made In the Mouth of Madness, which is the Sam Neill, like, very dark movie.
We're actually, we came across that movie earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good one. I recommend that. Yeah, it's quite creepy. It's got some quite scary moments in it. He made Village of the Damned, blonde-haired kids with the red eyes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Escape from LA, Vampires. That's the second one I hadn't seen.
Vampires.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I hadn't seen that one, actually. I'll go into why, I guess. And then after that, his final movie was The Ward, which was an Amber Heard starring horror movie. Probably his worst movie, I think. That one came out in 2010. So that was the last time he actually made a studio movie.
His final movie. So has he retired?
He basically just went full on in terms of his music, doing his live concerts. He always did the soundtracks for his movies, like the electronic soundtracks. Yeah. So now he just tours with his band, like playing his soundtracks, live venues. I heard it's very cool.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I've been aware that, like, yes, he does like the soundtracks for his movies, and like tours with it as well. But I didn't realize he went like full on with it, like full time.
I think he did. Like he's pretty old now, so making a feature length movie is quite physically demanding.
Right.
I think he probably just thought enough is enough with the movie side, and I'll just do the music.
I'm sure it's a huge headache trying to like manage all that stuff on a daily basis. Yeah. Like from conception to putting everything.
I mean, I made a 10-minute
on the
short
screen.
movie in university, and that was kind of hard physically. So I can't imagine making a feature-length movie with all those people.
Right.
I guess David Lynch went down the same route, right? He also just does a lot of music these days as well. He doesn't make feature length.
Yeah, he's put out a couple of albums.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think he just went into his painting and his music. Yeah.
I was reading some articles online that there's kind of a rumor out there that he's working with Netflix to produce something that's coming out in the near future.
After
like a Netflix exclusive kind
after
of thing.
The last Twin Peaks series, he was thinking of making another season of Twin Peaks, I heard. I guess I should go into just these two movies that I watched to round off the Carpenter collection. So the first one was Vampires from 1998, starring James Woods. Haven't seen him in anything for a while. I guess you know about the whole James Woods is like a proper hard right conservative, so he's kind of
I know that.
He's kind of been blacklisted from Hollywood for a while for his political views, I guess. Which is a shame because he's a good actor. He's great in Videodrome that we watched together a little while ago.
Yeah.
He's like a proper 80s, 90s actor.
Yeah.
I think.
Whenever I see his name pop up these days, it's always like associated with like a joke or like satire or something,
Okay.
Like there's a Family Guy episode about James Woods once. That must have been like in the early 2000s maybe.
Yeah. I guess he has some like, conspiracy theorist ideas, that he's not afraid to espouse online. So,
But to be honest, these days, who doesn't have conspiracy theorist
true.
ideas?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like every single person has their own conspiracy theory, like, niche.
Well, the film also stars. I'm just going to call her Laura Palmer. Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks. It's the actress that plays Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks. And
Oh, okay. A Cheryl Lee.
Cheryl Lee, that's right. Yeah. Have you seen her in anything else than Twin Peaks? Like, I don't really know.
I've only seen her in Twin Peaks.
Right, yeah. Well, she's in this. She's in this movie. And it also stars one of the Baldwin brothers. Not Alec Baldwin. And he's kind of the tubby.
Oh, the other one.
Kind of the tubby one, so I'm just going to refer to him as like Fat Baldwin for this episode.
The other Baldwin. I've looked up the other Baldwin before.
There are a couple of other
immediately...
Baldwins, though. I think there's like William Baldwin. I think.
How many Baldwins are actors?
At least 3 of them. This one is Daniel Baldwin. I did look up his IMDb. He's basically only done like TV aside from this movie. He's just in a lot of like CIS or whatever they're called, CSI TV shows.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the basic premise of the movie is James Woods leads like a group of vampire hunters, and they've been like assembled by the Catholic Church to hunt down vampires. Basically, they search for, like, they call them hives of vampires. These hives are kind of like drug dens, like in movies you see like all these drug addicts like in a safe house together. So they tried to find like these like safe houses of vampires, and each safe house has a master vampire, basically the vampire who turned them all into vampires. And so what they do is they go in the daytime, and James Woods has like a crossbow, and they like lure each one out. He like shoots them. He's got like Fat Baldwin on an earpiece, and he shouts out to him like, "Ready?" And he's got like a truck, and the arrow that went into the vampire has like a chain on it attached to the truck, so he just reverses them out into the sunlight and they like explode.
That's awesome.
It's a pretty effective way of taking out vampires. Yeah. And then as each one explodes, he like gets his knife and he like picks up the charred skull, and Baldwin puts like all the skulls on the hood of the truck. And then when they're done, they can see like how many they got, basically. And yeah, so they were put together by the Catholic Church because basically it turns out, and this is not really a spoiler, the Catholic Church basically created vampires. What they did was they did like an exorcism on a guy 600 years ago somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure which country it was, Latvia or Bulgaria, somewhere like that. And they refer to it as an exorcism gone wrong, or a reverse exorcism. So instead of like taking the evil out of the guy, they kind of put evil into the guy. And just made him like a living dead creature, therefore creating the vampire race. And when they did this exorcism, they used a black cross, black rose, black cross. This main vampire wears like black leather, like a black leather trench coat. He's got like black long hair like this.
You gotta remember, the black cross is the sexy cross.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. And he's that kind of vampire, I think, who likes red lipstick and red wine at night. Black crosses.
Like the Peter Steele type of vampire, sure. I guess. Black number one.
So yeah, basically he turns out to be the master of this hive that they destroy at the beginning of the movie. And after they kill all these vampires, they have like a party at this like crappy motel. I think the movie is set in Texas or like Arizona, one of like the desert states, basically. And he shows up in his black trench coat. He's like 8 foot tall, and he just like chops like James Wood's team in half with his feet, with his hand. He can just like hit you, and your whole body just like splits in half like that.
Holy crap! Yeah. This sounds like the best movie
ever. James Woods gets away. He just like runs away with Fat Baldwin, and they like drive off in the Jeep. And turns out that this vampire, he's been looking for his black cross. His black cross was taken back to the US, and all of the vampires in the world have been searching for this black cross, because once they get it back, he can finish this botched exorcism and he can become a day-walking vampire. He will basically become the ultimate vampire. So for the rest of the movie, they have to like prevent him getting this black cross, I guess. It's pretty cool. Like,
I don't know why, but this sounds like it could be like a Robert Rodriguez movie.
That's the thing. So the reason that I was kind of surprised I hadn't seen it, because the whole movie is very much like kind of a mishmash between Desperado and Dusk Till Dawn. It really does have that kind of vibe, but with like cheesier music and cheesier performances, I guess.
That's exactly like the kind of atmosphere, the kind of setting I was picturing when you were describing this movie to me.
Even the music is like Desperado, like guitar kind of music.
Yeah. And then you said they're hanging out in Texas, and I'm like, okay.
I think it's Texas. I'm not sure. Somewhere like near Mexico, I guess, near the Mexican border. So it's very silly, of course, you know. But yeah, it was pretty entertaining. He actually made a movie later on called Ghost of Mars, John Carpenter. And Ghost of Mars is very similar to this movie, but a lot worse in terms of production. You'll probably forget about it immediately after you watch it, but you know.
That's totally okay. That just means I gotta watch it again,
Definitely
right?
have a few of these when you watch it, I would say.
Yes. It's called Vampire or Vampires?
Vampires, plural.
Where can you watch this movie? Is it streaming?
I watched it on YouTube. It's completely.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it is streaming.
It's pretty widely available. Okay. I think you can rent it at certain places, so yeah, it's quite widely available. There is a sequel to it that I have not seen, not directed by John Carpenter. And the sequel stars John Bon Jovi as a vampire hunter.
What?
For real, yeah.
As a vampire hunter?
I think so, yeah. I think he's the vampire hunter.
I didn't even know he was in movies.
Neither did I, yeah.
Maybe just this one time. To play his dream role of a vampire hunter.
So yeah, the other movie I watched just to round out the Carpenter movies was Starman.
Sorry. Before we move on, since we're kind of in that realm of conversation, you mentioned like Desperado and From Dusk Till Dawn. It made me think of another Rodriguez movie, Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Oh, the kind of sequel to Desperado.
Yeah, which I watched recently. I just want to say one thing about that movie. I think that is probably Johnny Depp's best role. Like what is he, a CIA agent?
Yeah,
or
it's
FBI?
like a
CIA, I think.
guy, right?
Yeah, and by the end, it's like
Black.
he's lost both
There's
eyeballs.
all these like black like blood stains coming down his face. He still wears like black glasses. So.
Badass role, probably the best thing he's ever done. That's all I wanted to say. I've been meaning to convey that to you for a while.
But
It was just a good time.
he can still shoot, right? Even though he's blind, he still takes like some people out.
Yeah, he's a badass. He's got that natural ability.
He's so badass you don't need eyes.
You don't need eyeballs.
Kind of need mine, you know.
Oh, he had that little kid with him, right? That was like guiding him around.
Oh, right, yeah. I remember that.
That little Mexican kid. So the next movie you watched was
Starman.
I just think of the David Bowie song.
You don't think of Dayman?
Dayman. Whoa. Savior of the night, man.
Master of
Whoa.
the sun. So Starman from 1984. So I was 1 when this movie came out. You were not of this earth, I guess. So
I was not. I was still in negative space.
you're somewhere around,
I guess.
Yeah. You're in a safe space.
I was floating around in the ether somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this movie stars Jeff Bridges. Good actor.
My man.
Yep. It is a very odd John Carpenter movie in that it's like not horror, it's not action, it's not scary in any way. It's kind of like a warm cuddle. It's kind of like E.T. And actually he made it because apparently John Carpenter, I don't know how true this is, apparently he hates E.T. So
How can you hate E.T.? I do not get that.
well, maybe he just didn't think the execution was good or something, I don't know. But he just
I can understand if I can understand if E.T. is not your favorite movie, but E.T. is just such a wholesome experience. Like if you hate life, I can understand if you don't like E.T.
probably like hating it's like
suppose.
hating Reese's Pieces cereal or something. It'd be like hating that or something. Why would you hate that? It's like hating something very comforting.
It's just too wholesome. It's like saying that you hate family and friendship. Yeah. Right.
Sure. You hate hot chocolate and marshmallows. I didn't recognise the female lead until after the credits. And I felt like very annoyed with myself that I didn't recognise her. So the female lead is played by Karen Allen.
What is she in?
Oh, she was Indiana Jones's love interest in the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. She's like the woman in like the Siberian town or something. She works in like this big tavern. But to be fair, like that's the only other thing I've seen her in. But she has like one of those really like 80s kind of faces.
Yeah, she does have an 80s face.
She looks like someone you would recognise, but then you can't remember what you've seen her in. If you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
But then when I checked it, I was like, oh yeah, of course that's her. Yeah, Indiana Jones.
She's got that 80s feathered hair as well.
So Starman, the poster tagline, it has quite a long one. It's a bit soppy. It goes like this. He has travelled from a galaxy far beyond our own. He is 1,000 years ahead of us. He has powers we cannot comprehend. And he's about to face the one force in the universe he has yet to conquer. Love.
Wow.
Big stuff. So yeah, basically, in this movie, the government, or NASA, have sent out like a probe around the universe. And the probe like plays like Rolling Stones music. And it has like a dictionary of basically basic vocab for 50 of the world's languages. So it's kind of like a invitation to Earth, and hopefully they'll read the dictionary and be able to communicate. And basically you see this like little ship exit one of these planets, and it comes to Earth. And as soon as it enters the Earth, like the US military pick it up on their radar. And they start tracking it, and it crashes. Again, I think this movie takes place in Texas. I'm not sure. It crashes in one of the middle states, basically. And it crashes by a lake where Karen Allen is living. And her husband, Jeff Bridges, passed away a couple of years ago in an accident. When the ship crashes, like a blue light orb thing comes out and it goes to the house. And it finds like her looking at these old videos of Jeff Bridges and photo albums and things. She's obviously still like quite deep in grief at that point. And it finds like a lock of hair that she's like put in one of the photo albums. It's Jeff Bridges' hair. So the alien takes the DNA and she wakes up and there's a baby on the floor in like this blue light. And within like 3 minutes, this baby has like grown into full-size Jeff Bridges. You actually see it like growing. It does have like a scene where like the baby's head, its like neck like stretches up into an adult-sized one. And it kind of reminded me of like the head in The Thing, like snapping off the body and becoming the spider head. Like it like stretches.
I was just thinking, it sounds like that Jeff Bridges baby was growing even faster than the xenomorphs from Alien.
It does grow faster than
like those things grow pretty fast, right?
Yeah, baby to full Jeff Bridges and like that. It's pretty fast,
dude. On the right side, that would make parenting extremely easy. Right?
Sure, yeah. Yep. And so this alien version of Jeff Bridges. Of course, she's like shocked initially. She gets a gun. She doesn't know whether to shoot it or whatever. Obviously, it's not her husband. It's some weird new life form. Mm-hmm. And it convinces her to... Well, it kind of kidnaps her, I guess. And says, like, you've got to drive me to Arizona to this crater where my alien buddies are going to pick me up. And if you don't take me there, I'm going to die. And we've got like 3 days to get there. So, road trip. Road trip with alien Jeff Bridges.
No pressure, though.
What's really peculiar about the movie is Jeff Bridges' performance. So apparently he studied like the movement of birds for this performance. He moves like a bird. It's very weird. Like he does like.
Like, is he trying to come off as like more alien by doing that?
I think Jeff Bridges like kind of thought about like what an alien in a human body would move like, and maybe he thought like in that NASA thing they just put like different animal pictures, and maybe it's associating the humans with bird movements. So the aliens kind of messed up how a human moves. It's very peculiar. He has like a constant blank expression. His voice is weird. He moves like in these like jerky movements. So much so that my wife turned to me and she said, "Is this actor famous in Hollywood? This is the worst.
He's the dude.
This is the worst acting I've ever seen. What is he doing? Is he okay?" I was like, I think it's kind of cool what he's doing. It's very like off kilter, but you know.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna search that. Oh, he looks so different.
Yeah.
In the early 80s.
Yeah, if any of our viewers get a chance to see the movie, it's definitely worth watching for his performance. It's a very unique performance. Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued. Like, I'm interested to see this one.
So yeah, they go on this road trip, and of course, initially she tries to escape. You know, she like writes on bathroom walls, "I've been kidnapped," and you know, they have quite a fraught start to this road trip. But eventually, they grow closer and closer, and it does kind of have a very heartwarming ending. Like I was kind of moved by it at the end. I guess like maybe his character could be a metaphor for like people who have relationship issues or confidence issues, but it's kind of like there's someone for everyone kind of movies. There's even someone for Alien Jeff Bridges who is really weird and moves like a bird or something, you know. Like it did have like it was kind of very moving at the end.
At the same time, though, for the woman played by what's her name, Alan. Basically, the Starman guy is an alien life form taking the appearance of her dead husband, right? So she is basically just going around town with an alien being that looks like her dead husband. How does that not fuck you up?
Well, maybe she is.
Like, how does that end up with a happy ending?
Maybe she is fucked up in the end.
I'd imagine that could only end up with a prolonged stay at a mental clinic.
It's an 80s romance. So.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't think about what it would actually be like to, take your alien imitating dead husband to a crater in Arizona, who moves like a bird and can't eat food and brings animals back to life and has like weird orbs that he like attacks people with.
I'll be honest, it sounds like a pretty cool guy to hang out with.
Life of the party, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, that guy can make orbs.
He literally does do that. What did you watch?
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
Yeah, I watched, let's see, this past week. I didn't watch a ton of movies. I watched the 2 Deadpool movies, but I don't really want to focus on those. I think everyone knows what those are about. But I also watched another movie. It's a movie by Pixar that came out last year or 2 years ago. It's called Soul. Do you know anything about that movie?
Soul. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. Is it a music?
Again, it's a
soul music. Right.
It's more about jazz music,
yeah.
But jazz and soul. Yeah, so it's a Pixar movie. And Pixar movies, they're, usually quite highly rated. Like, they get good reviews. They're movies that children and adults can usually enjoy together. There's something for everyone. But specifically this movie, it felt like, while I can see like children enjoying it, it kind of felt like it's more geared towards adults. It's about a man in his probably like early to mid 30s who's working as like a substitute jazz teacher at like a high school or like junior high school or something like that. And like his whole life, his passion, his spark is like playing jazz, like playing like jazz piano. And like he's tried so hard throughout his life to like make it big in the jazz world. Like he's from New York City, so he's trying to make it into like the New York jazz scene. But throughout his life, he gets like rejected time and time again. Like he just can't get like the one gig that gives him that break to, break through. At the start of the movie, he finds out from, I guess, the school administration that they want to offer him like a full-time job as a music teacher with like a pension and everything. Obviously that's good news because, it means he'll have a career and it'll, keep him afloat basically. But on the same exact day, just by chance, he gets a call to like come in to audition for some like really famous jazz singer. So he goes to the jazz club and he plays piano, like backing piano for her like rehearsal. Yeah. And she's really impressed and she tells him like, come back next week for a show. And this singer's like really famous, so in his mind he's like, hell yeah, I've made my break. but what about this job, that I was just offered with a pension? So he has like that dilemma. And basically soon after that, he just by pure freak accident, he falls into a manhole and he dies. And he goes into, I guess you can call it like the stairway to heaven, I guess. More like an escalator to heaven. Okay. So he's going up towards the bright light, heading towards heaven. And he realizes where he is and where he's going. And he says, no, not yet. I have a show to do. So he like turns around and tries to go back. And basically the whole movie is about him, being like outside of his body, like as a soul. I guess that's what the name plays on. So his soul goes back to Earth, and he has to figure out how to, get back to his body in order to make it to the like show in time, and like make his dreams and aspirations like come true. Like along the way, he meets like another like disembodied soul who is having trouble finding her meaning in life. Like in the movie, they call it like a spark or like a reason for living. Like obviously, this guy's reason for living is to play jazz, but this girl can't find her reason for living. So, like while he's trying to get back to his body, he's also trying to like help this person like try to find what creates like a spark in her soul. Overall, it's a very, very interesting movie, and it really makes you think about like what like the true purpose of your life is. Like, are you born to do something, or is it something that you just kind of figure out later on in life?
It's kind of deep for
the initial reason. Yeah, it's the deepest children's movie I've ever seen in my life, probably. And the main reason why I watched it is because Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the soundtrack for it. Yeah, which later on got an Academy Award. Okay. Yeah,
I'm guessing you watched this on
really Disney good. Plus? Yeah. The soundtrack's really good. The animation is very well done. It's a Pixar movie. It's kind of for kids, but it's more geared towards adults, I feel. I think there's a lot to get out of it for older people.
Yeah, so recommended for especially adults, I guess. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of Pixar movies. Like the last one I can remember was the one about like people in someone's mind. I can't remember what that one was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In America, it's called Inside Out.
In Japan, it's called Inside.
In Japan, it's called Inside Head. Yes.
Inside Head.
Yes. Yes. Inside
that title was scarier than some horror movies, to be honest.
Yes, I agree.
It's more nightmare-inducing than Chucky, maybe.
Yeah.
Inside Out, yeah. So.
But yeah, I don't watch a ton of Pixar movies either. Like, I've seen like the early Toy Story movies and like Finding Nemo.
I like that one. That one's pretty good. I haven't seen,
but like I've never seen. Actually. I haven't either. I haven't seen Monsters Inc. I haven't seen The Incredibles. I haven't seen Cars or any of the stuff from the last 15 years, probably.
I haven't seen Cars. I've seen The Incredibles once.
I've heard WALL-E's kind of a tearjerker.
It is, yeah. I think I watched it because it has the SF element to it. It's like a post-apocalyptic world where only this one robot has survived. I tend to have a yearning for the older days of Disney recently, like Snow White or Pinocchio, that kind of thing.
Me too. For me, the best era of Disney is like the 1950s and 1960s. like when they put out like the Jungle Book and like 101 Dalmatians, like that era of Disney animation to
Even
me
Dumbo
looks
is good,
the best.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of scary.
Dumbo. Yep.
I have seen the Tim Burton Dumbo, by the way.
Good grief. How is that?
Probably slightly better than his Alice in Wonderland. Probably on a par with his Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie.
Oh jeez.
It was a little dark.
I gotta say,
his other stuff recently. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie from the 70s. Like, I love that movie, and Gene Wilder is awesome. I feel like Tim Burton's version of that movie, it doesn't even come close.
No, it's kind of bad.
It can't even compare. And on top of that, at least here in Japan, nobody knows about the original movie.
No.
All they know is the Tim Burton movie.
That's true for Alice in Wonderland.
It's like, oh my gosh. I'm just waiting for like a, I don't know, like a remake of Bambi, like in like CG or something, with, I don't know, like A-list celebrities voice acting, like Emma Stone and Seth Rogen.
That's totally coming. That is happening.
Seth Rogen as Bambi.
It's got the hair colour, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim Burton has a very strange career trajectory, I think. Yeah. What happened to the guy who made Beetlejuice? What happened to that guy? And Batman.
I don't know. You know, he used to work for Disney, right? He used to be like a Disney animator, I think.
Does make sense. Like, he's purely Disney now, right? That's all he really makes anymore. Disney adaptations, Disney products.
Like back in the 80s, in the 80s, he was like a low level like Disney employee. Like, he did like animation, and he was actually fired from Disney after he was given the chance to put out the movie Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie, yeah.
I think it was Frankenweenie, like one of his early movies, like before Edward Scissorhands. So that was like produced in-house at Disney, and then I guess afterwards the Disney executives saw what was made with the Disney resources, and they were like, you know what, we don't want you here. So they kicked him out of Disney, and the Frankenweenie movie, apparently they just decided to not even like release it in the States.
Really?
And then like several years later they did like a small release in Europe or something like that, but it was never like really pushed. It wasn't until after Tim Burton got famous with like Beetlejuice and his other stuff that Disney decided to like put out Frankenweenie.
It's available now, I know.
Like and really push it.
Yeah, they can just put like...
But at the time when it was actually made, I think they were trying to really like hide it from the world.
Now just his name being on it will just like make money for them, right? So just whack his name back on it. Oh look, it's Tim Burton's original movie we found in the Lost Archives or something. It's kind of amazing.
We found it in the cancel closet.
Uncancelled. You're uncancelled. Funny how that works when there's a buck to be made, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
But his influence on like goth fashion and like horror fan fashion is pretty crazy, right? I mean, the amount of Beetlejuice, people who imitate Beetlejuice clothes and costumes, and Edward Scissorhands.
Dude, even more than Beetlejuice.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I don't know what it. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in junior high school and high school, like when I was growing up, like all of the goth kids, they loved Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
we had a store at the mall called Hot
Probably
Topic,
Hot Topic.
and like, yeah, everything in the store was like Tim Burton stuff.
Yeah.
And then like his more recent movies started coming out, like his version of Alice in Wonderland and like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, Sweeney Todd, all that stuff, you know. His movies now kind of feel like they're just...
They all seem the same. They all
like-
look exactly the same. You know, they all very similar style and humour.
It kind of feels like Tim Burton spoofing
Himself.
Tim
Yeah.
Burton at this point. Yeah,
What's kind of happening to Wes Anderson a little bit, I think.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So did he direct this really? Did he get his assistant? His assistant's taking the piss out of him?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, when you photocopy something like many times, it gets like darker and darker and darker and more like
Fuzzier.
more harsh,
yeah.
you know, more fuzzy or more harsh. It seems like Tim Burton's work is getting like that too. But it's fun. I think we did a good one today.
We got through a lot of content, so yeah. If you guys do check out the movies that we mentioned today, John Carpenter's Vampires and Starman, Tim Burton's Dumbo, and Soul is a movie you watched, yeah? Pixar movie.
Soul, yes.
Yeah. If any of you guys have seen any of those movies or do check them out, please leave us a comment below. Let us know what you thought. If you like this video, please give us a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And for updates, please hit the bell notification down there somewhere. Yeah. We'll see you all on the next episode of A Flood of Content. See you next time.
All right, until next time.
Take it easy.